Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today I am going to discuss another important and emerging news, and that is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Iran, a declaration of opening a new era of friendship and cooperation, and this was sponsored by the Chinese. Interestingly, it happened on the third inauguration of President Xi Jinping. You must be knowing that he was re-elected for the third time, which is unprecedented in the Chinese history. And on his inauguration on 10th March, this news came out that China has been brokering a peace and cooperation deal between these two powers across the Gulf. So it becomes very, very significant that this peace deal is taking place at a time when Europe, both sides of Atlantic, the transatlantic powers, and Russia are now engaged in a serious war with the specter of nuclear conflagration. So that becomes very, very important. This meet was basically attended by the Saudi National Security Advisor, Mr. Al Eban, and from the Iranian side it was Ali Shamakhsi. Now, as far as Beijing is concerned, it played a constructive role. Now, I've already mentioned what is the backdrop. That on one side we have a war taking place in Eastern Europe, and now we have Asian countries sponsored by China looking for a peace deal. So this is very, very interesting. The question which arises out of this deal is whether the developing world has become mature and they have developed statesmanship of the level that now they can resolve their differences without interference or prodding from the West. So this is, I think, very, very significant, because these are two developing countries, Asian countries, and the third country which is doing mediation is also an Asian country, China. It also begs another question, whether developing world is now learning to shed the Western hegemony and solve the problems on their own. So I think that is again very, very significant. What I am going to discuss is effects on different regions and the globe. So I will highlight how, in my opinion, definitely it's based on whatever has come in the press, on the media, how it affects the Middle East, how it affects the outer periphery of Middle East, or the MENA region, that is Middle East and North Africa, which includes West Asia, Central Asia, and South Asia, in which we have Pakistan and India also. And then, is there any effect on the Islamic world as a whole? And lastly, what will be the global ramifications, especially the international financial system, and is the world going to look for an alternative system? So these are some of the areas that I am going to highlight. Now, first of all, the Middle East. I feel that the reduction in hostility across the Gulf between two powers that actually represent two schisms in Islam, the Shia and Sunni, is going to have a salutary effect all over Islamic world. The MENA region, which is Middle East and North Africa, comprises about 600 million people. It is geographically connected. Actually, you can travel by road from even Pakistan to Morocco, and vice versa. So it has that geographic connectivity. The culture is also similar, and if the hostility reduces, it will have tremendous effect on development of the region. Imagine the manpower available, 600 million people, and if they can shed the hostility because of sectarianism and focus on development. And this area has a youth bulge, because bulk of population is very young, so it has those dividends. It's going to become a workshop of the world, and also it's a very productive area. It's also part of it is an energy hub, and part of it is basically controlling certain corridors and choke points. Like if you look at Gibraltar on the west, then you come to Suez Canal in the Mediterranean, then you have Bab el Mandab, and then Strait of Hormuz. This controls almost 50 to 60% of global energy. So the Islamic world is actually sitting on these choke points. So previously these used to be considered as friction points, but now they can become highways of development and cooperation. It also affects the Abrahamic Accord, and I feel that it reduces Israeli influence in the region because they could play Shia Sunnis against each other, and through proxy wars almost destroyed countries like Syria, Lebanon, then we had Iraq, and definitely there was Western intervention also. So I think Israeli influence is going to reduce. The only important thing to highlight is that the Muslim countries, especially Iran and Saudi Arabia, should be very, very careful because the neoliberal cabal sitting in the West would not absorb it so easily, and there are chances that something fishy may be done to scuttle this deal. Now we come to West Asia, Central Asia, and South Asia. And I just explain West Asia can extend up to Turkey. It has Iran. Then we have Afghanistan, Pakistan, and in the north you have Central Asia, which have these Central Asian republics. I'm sure we know. Then of course it touches the uh, countries around Caspian Sea, and which also includes the Caucasian countries. And then you have South Asia, again a huge region with almost I think 2 billion population now, if you include Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India, and the peripheral countries. So it's a huge. Now, if you look at this region, it is again geographically connected. There are already planned for energy pipelines like the IPI, Iran, Pakistan, India, and then you have TAPI, which is Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. So if the peace deal ushers in a new era of cooperation, I think these pipelines can go ahead, and it can bring a sea change and also reduce the conflict. So that's the kind of potential it has. Overall, in Islamic world, if this deal materializes and matures, there are chances that sectarian tensions will reduce. Imagine sectarian tensions within Pakistan or Iran or the Gulf region reducing. Instead of talking Shia Sunni, we talk of Islamic brotherhood and development. It will have, I think, salutary effect on the region. Globally, I feel that it's going to be a big challenge to Western hegemony. We've already seen that West is now engrossed in Russia-Ukraine war. Eastern Europe is already threatened. There are talk of a nuclear overhang and possibility of some miscalculation resulting into almost destruction of Europe. It has affected the energy supply chain, it has affected the food supply chain, and there are countries in Asia and Africa, even Southern America, which are suffering. So this could be a very big, I think, blow to Western hegemony, and it could usher in an era of peace and prosperity. It also can lead to an alternative financial system. We have already seen Iranians dealing with Russia directly, India dealing with Russia directly, and I think they are not doing it in dollars. Pakistan is also expected to get some wheat and oil from Russia. And imagine if an alternate currency comes in, so this dependence on dollar and the way the international finance institution like IMF and World Bank control developing world, I think that will again bring a lot of change. There is already talk of expansion of BRICS, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and there are countries like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and so many others, middle level powers who would like to join. And maybe later on Pakistan can also join the BRICS. One thing that I've not mentioned is the role of Pakistan. I think quite diplomacy did affect this deal because Pakistan has already aspired and thought and propagated that there should be reduction of tension across the Gulf, and in case Saudi Arabia and Iran can become friends, it will bring a huge change in the overall landscape and especially Islamic world. So I think Pakistan does have a role which has been played historically but is not mentioned here in this deal, but definitely somebody has to carry out a research. So that was all about this event. I would say that this is a new era which is beginning, inshallah. We hope that things should settle down in Middle East and this periphery. And finally, it also projects China as a benign power which has eschewed diplomacy. They've done it very quietly, and the deal was well timed because it happened on President Xi's inauguration. So China is now coming up as a benign superpower, and I'm sure the entire world would welcome it. So that was all regarding this Iran-Saudi Arabia deal brokered by China. And in case you have any comments, kindly do put them in the comment section and do like the video. Thank you very much.